Okay, so our kombucha tea, our tea that was brewing earlier has finally cooled down enough for us to go to the next stage of our kombucha making process. So the temperature is around 78 in these jars, and that is good enough for us to move on. So I covered them up while they were cooling off, so I'm just gonna uncover them. Okay. And then the next thing we want to do with these is we've got to put some of the starter tea in here from the previous batches. This tea that's in here where the scobies are living. So I'm going to just pour a little bit into each of these. That starts to bring the pH where we need it to. So I'm going to put about a half a cup in each. Remember, after this batch is done fermenting around day maybe 9 or 10, and when I get ready to bottle it and do my second fermenting with the fruit, I'm going to take some of this tea or this kombucha tea and put it back into this jar for the scobies. So I'm going to just kind of give these a stir. I can smell it on my hand. I touched it. I guess it leaked. And then we're going to test this. I'm going to test the pH and see if it's good. It needs to be under about a 4.0. So on here, it has the different levels, the pH levels, and we're aiming for the 4.0. So I'm going to just take 2 strips off, one for each jar, and do a quick dip in here. And it's going to quickly start to change colors. You can see there where it's changing that green. I'm just going to line it up. If it was really dark and the pH was higher than a 4, I would need to bring it down maybe with a little more of the starter tea, or you could add some vinegar, and I try my best not to add vinegar to mine. And this is like, it's in between, it's really more like a 3.5, which is perfect. That's this one. So then I'm going to test this one. Give it a minute. And it's about the same. Between 3.5 and 4, perfect. So we are now ready to add the SCOBY to the kombucha tea, or to the tea. It's not kombucha yet. But before we need to grab this SCOBY, we don't want to contaminate it whatsoever with whatever may be on our hands. So we are going to wash our hands really good. But not with any kind of antibacterial soap, just regular soap. I use Miss Meyer's soap. This is dish soap, but I also use Miss Meyer's hand soap. Neither one of these have any type of antibacterial ingredients, because we're trying to grow. We're trying to encourage bacterial growth in the kombucha. So we don't want to be putting something in there that's going to kill the bacteria. So we want to make sure, and all day my hands have been in, I've been using hand sanitizer and all this stuff I've been in the store working today, and I want to get all that hand sanitizer and antibacterial stuff off of my hands, because I don't want to put it on my SCOBY. So I think I got that clean. That's good. Paper towel. Again, I use paper towels when I'm drying my hands, when I'm working with the kombucha, because I don't want even any of the fibers from the cloth towels to become part of my ferment. So now I'm going to do the fun part. I love doing this part. this is where I'm going to reach inside and pick the SCOBY that I'm going to use. This is the one with a little less tea, so I'm going to put the bigger one in here and put a smaller one in here. So I'm going to reach in and find one that I like. This one looks good. I'm going to use this one. It's kind of coming apart, but it's okay. See how nice and smooth it is? I don't know if you can see that. But I'm going to put that one in this one here. Now, when I first put it in, it may sink to the bottom. It may go sideways. It should stay to the top. Even if it didn't, it would still do the trick. The key is to have it in there. And then I had a little teeny layer that came off. I'm going to leave it in here because if I leave it on the top, it will grow more layers. But I want to get that big one from the bottom. It's huge. Because this might be my last chance to use this one. Look at this. Look how big it is, right? It's starting to shed on the bottom, but it's good. It's still got lots of good use. So I'm going to put this really thick one in here. That's why I had to leave a little more space. And I'm hoping he doesn't sink because he's been sitting at the bottom of that one for a while. Yeah, there he is. So now I've got 2 SCOBYs in here. This is what actually makes the tea turn into kombucha. These SCOBYs are going to feed off of the tea and the sugar that we put in when we made the tea. Over the next, I'm probably going to let it ferment for about 10 days. So over the next 10 days, it's going to feed off of the tea and the sugar, and it's going to, that's why the sugar content starts to go down. The longer you ferment it, it has less sugar that your body will absorb when you drink the kombucha. If I were to ferment it for, let's say, 7 days versus 12 days, there's going to be more sugar in the 7-day ferment than the 12-day. I go 9 to 10, because I do a second ferment where I add some fruit for flavoring. I'm going to rinse my hands off. Put that on. If you're tapping, my dog is behind me with his ball, trying to get me to play fetch with him. And he keeps dropping the ball behind my feet. So that's what that tapping is. So these are ready to go. All I have to do now is cover them with this cloth to keep any elements from getting in there, but it still allows airflow. There it is. Okay. And cover this one. And then once you get your kombucha tea ready to be, or your tea ready to be, start fermenting, you'll want to keep it in, Benny, really? You'll want to keep it in a semi-dark, cool place, or somewhere between the temperature, again, of 70 to maybe 78 degrees. So, and the cooler it is, if it's really cold in your house, it's going to take longer to ferment. Let me make sure I said that right. If your home is too cold, oh, that's not what I wanted to say. Read. Somewhere in here it talks about the temperature. Oh, here it is. The colder your brew is, the longer it will take to ferment. The warmer it is, the faster it will ferment. So keeping the temperature maybe like around 76 is really good, so that you can have a nice steady ferment and it won't take like 20 days to get to where it needs to be. Because the longer it is sitting there, it does have an opportunity for mold to grow, and that you don't want to happen. And I've been fortunate that none of my batches of kombucha, I've lost count. I've probably done 20 to 30 batches in the last 2 years, and none of them have grown mold. So again, you don't want to keep your place too warm or too cold. Around 76 is good, and where it's kind of dark, not where there's a lot of traffic. You don't want a lot of agitation. So Where I put them is in a corner in my kitchen on the counter where no one really goes, and it sits there until I'm ready for the next step. And that is all for this part of the process. In about 10 days, I'll come back. We'll do another video, and I'll show you how I bottle it and do the second fermenting process.